to another edition of Hot Takes with me, your host, Zach Gardner, Chief Architect here at Keyhole Software. What I want to talk about today, kind of a morose topic, but it's something that we need to discuss. Every single line of code that you will write in your career, whether you think it's the most beautiful code that has ever been written, whether you come back to it 6 months later and you're wondering what kind of fool would write this, and then you do a git blame and it's yourself. Every single line of code that you write will eventually become obsolete. That's not to say that there's any fault on your part, but what we on the software side need to do is realize that whatever applications, whatever features, whatever functionality we produce is for our best guess about where the business could be going. We're always in a constant catch-up game. And it may very well be that we've modeled the data correctly for the problems today. It doesn't always mean that 4 or 5 or 6 years down the road that the business problems are going to be exactly the same. Now, we on the development side really don't do an adequate job explaining that to our non-technical friends. They trust us to be knowledge leaders. They trust us to be experts in developing software. And we are. Don't get me wrong by any means. We're not Nostradamus. We can't always predict exactly where things are going to go. And a lot of the choices that we make today might seem inconsequential, but ask any developer that has worked on an application that is older than, 2 weeks, and what you thought was going to play out oftentimes doesn't always play out. So when do you need to rewrite an application? It's different, honestly. For every single use case, for every single domain, even within a company, there can be many different responses that are all correct for when to rewrite an application. Think about it first from the perspective of the people that are your business stakeholders, the ones that are the only reason that we actually have jobs is because they're willing to put up with us day after day. If you came to them, put yourself in their shoes and said, oh, we need to completely scrap everything we've already written and we need to rewrite it, you would be a little confused too, right? So put yourself into their shoes. Often the best time to talk about when it's appropriate to rewrite an application is at least 1 fiscal year in advance. There's so much preparation, there's so much planning, there's so much thinking that goes into recreating an application that it only really makes sense when everyone is on board and everyone can clearly see the benefits of what we have produced now, right or wrong, no longer meets our future use cases. The shelf life of the code that we write, it really depends upon who the end users are, as well as how they use it. If it's a mobile application, my rule of thumb, it's about 3 to 5 years that you have before you need to really start thinking about a full rewrite. Just because the business problems change, we are not Nostradamus, we cannot always predict the future, that's okay. For an enterprise scale web application, it's a bit longer. I would say it's maybe 5, 6, 7 years of a really good quality shelf life of an application. Now, there might be some internals that you can still reuse, some APIs that still make sense, but oftentimes the business modeling of the problem that you're actually trying to solve is so far from where you're actually at, it really only makes sense to rewrite code. And that's honestly my favorite way of getting rid of technical debt, is not to spend days and days every sprint refactoring code so that we can somehow make things faster to develop in the future while the business is getting no benefit out of it. The best way is to reimagine and really know your customers. Understand the pieces of the application that they are using, which ones are they not using, and what are their ideas for how you could do things better. And oftentimes, if everyone is rowing in the same direction and can clearly see that the application that you had developed no longer meets their use case, it doesn't become very controversial saying you need to rewrite it. Everyone sort of agrees. So that's today's hot take. We need to do a better job of explaining the shelf life of the code that we write. If you agree with me, drop me a comment, drop me a DM, give me some feedback there. If you disagree with me, let me know. Let me know why you disagree with me. Let me know what experiences you've had in your life. And maybe we could figure out, is there a middle ground that we can meet at? Again, Zach Gardner, Chief Take Officer but in reality, chief architect here at Keyhole Software, and this was my hot take.